Hello listeners, welcome to Little Literature. As I promised, I have come up with the previous year question papers of Pgtrb. I'll upload as soon as possible, and first we are going to start with the 2001 question paper of Pgtrb. The first question is: the age of sensibility is description of the late 18th century. Who wrote the following lines? Heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. Keats. In which poem of Tennyson did you find these lines? To strive, to strike, to find, and not to yield. Ulysses. The Scholar Gypsy by Matthew Arnold is an dash pastoral elegy. The poem Blessed Damozel was written by D.G. Rossetti, who is the poet that said, I woke one morning and found myself great, Lord Byron. Who is the heroine in Pride and Prejudice? Elizabeth Barrett. Who is the writer of The Thing of Beauty is a Joy Forever, John Keats? In which of the odes Keats wonder about the sustenance of the imaginative vision? Do I wake or sleep? Ode to a Nightingale. For truth is always strange than fiction, it's said by Byron. In which year Lyrical Ballad was published? 1798. Wordsworth died in 1850. The language really used by men should be the language of poetry. Who is the proponent of these lines? Wordsworth. As a philosopher, Coleridge was more interested in the philosophy of German. The mariner in Ancient Mariner kills an albatross. The moment of return to native has to do with the pre-romantic period. Followed by the 17th question, the pre-romantic were influenced by the Middle Age? Yes. Who is the writer of God made the country and man made the town? William Cowper, one of my favorite line. So let's follow the other questions. The earlier English odes were written to eulogize a person or the art of music or poetry. Yes. Which of the following the work of Chaucer, the prologue to the Canterbury Tales? Blake's Song of Innocence is about the joy of childhood in a natural and protective world than the pastoral world. Dr. Johnson's dictionary came out in the year 1755. The phrase willing suspension of disbelief is associated with S.T. Coleridge. Can it be said that Dr. Johnson's attitude in the lives of English poets is judicial in evaluating the poet? Yes. Hell is the city much like London. Who wrote this? Shelley. The character Mrs. Malprop was created by Richard Sheridan, who wrote essay on Boswell's Life of Johnson. Goldsmith. Malpropism is coined after the character in The Rivals. The circulating libraries were popular during the 18th century. Jane Austen's subject matter for her novel is human nature. Who speak the following words in The Tempest? We are such stuffs as a dream are made on. Gonzalo. Who is called the poet's poet? Spenser. Dryden is supreme master of criticism. Men fear death as child fear to go in the dark, said Bacon. When did Milton die? In 1674. Shakespeare's sonnets are mostly addressed to the Earl of Southampton. Where does the action of Shakespeare's Measure for Measure takes place? Vienna. There is no art to find the mind's construct in the face. These words are full of irony. Duncan is the greatest guest of Macbeth at Iverness Hostel. Miranda is daughter of Prospero. What was the first novel by R.K. Narayan, Swami and Friends? Who wrote the Spanish tragedy? Thomas Kyd. Marlowe's first play was Tamburlaine. Shakespeare wrote 37 plays. The tragic flaw of Macbeth is ambition. Who wrote the novel Nectar in a Sieve? Kamala Markandeya. Who called Chaucer the father of English poetry? Spenser. Note that I loved Caesar less, but then I loved Rome more. These words are said by Brutus in Julius Caesar. Lycidas is an elegy on Edward King. Browning's celebrated poems are written in the form of dramatic monologue. Who was the first poet laureate in England? That is, official poet laureate was Ben Dryden, and before him there is an unofficial poet laureate, that was Ben Jonson. Okay, the first English critic of to base his literary criticism on philosophical principle was Sir Philip Sidney. The term objective correlation was introduced by T.S. Eliot in his Hamlet and His Problems. Who is the heroine in R.K. Narayan's Guide? Rosie. Walt Whitman was the national poet of America. Who is the founder of the modern school of Indo-Anglican poetry? Torudad. If winter comes, can spring be far behind? This lines reveals Shelley's optimism. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans teeth, taste, sans everything. These words are spoken by Jacques. Shakespeare's measure for measure is a problem pig. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatest thrust upon them. These lines occur in Twelfth Night. In Tamil Nadu, the Sainik School is located in Coimbatore. The Sargent Report of 1944 insisted on the establishment of vocational education. The University at Tanjore offers exclusive courses in Tamil literature. Touchtoscope is used to measure the span of attention. Pavlov propounded the theory of classical conditioning. DTERT, diet, is expanded as Directorate of Teacher Education Research and Training. The theory of a hierarchy of needs was propounded by Abraham Maslow. The formula to calculate intelligence quotient is IQ equal to MA by CA into 100. Frederick J. MacDonald established mobile schools. Floating University visited Madras Harbour in the year 1979. The new English policy of 1986 was implemented by Rajiv Gandhi. India's destiny is shaped in the classrooms was the initial statement founded in the report of Kothari Commission, Education Commission. Navodaya schools are managed by private authorities. The present system of education is children-centered. In the word personality, persona means the mask worn by the actors. The child is the first teacher is parents. The book title Education for a Better Social Order was written by Russell. Education should be aimed at the grassroots level of any nation. This slogan was stressed by Gandhi. Diversified curriculum at the higher education level was implemented in the year 1978. Adonis is an elegy written on Keats. In which ode does Keats refers to Ruth? Ode on a Grecian urn. Who is known as the Prince of Essayists? Charles Lamb. Arnold's poetry is characterized by a sense of Epicurean pessimism, a note of Victorian compromise, a brooding paralysis of action. So the answer is all these. How many novels are written by Jane Austen? 6. Pope was the master of heroic couplets. The most representative poet of the Victorian age is Tennyson. Tennyson believed in tradition. Dickens' chief autobiographical work is David Copperfield. Who called Coleridge an archangel slightly damaged? Charles Lamb. The theme of Paradise Lost is man's disobedience and fall. Which is the meter used by Milton in Paradise Lost? Pentameter of blank verse. Who first used the term metaphysical? Dryden. Metaphysical poet was used by Johnson, but the word metaphysical was first used by Dryden. Okay, the main subject of dance poetry is passionate love and meditation. Who wrote the following lines? A little learning is a dangerous thing. Pope. Who was the first president of the Republic India? Dr. Rajendra Prasad. What is the light year? The distance travelled by light in a year. Kalingath Parani was written by Jayam Kondar. Rajaraja Chola built Bragdishwara temple, and the marathon race is run from 19 miles and 385 yards. This is the 2001 question paper. That time they marked for 100, and this exam pattern has been changed and it evolved as per the year. So this is a previous year question paper of 2001 Pgtrb. I'll follow up with more previous year question papers as soon as possible.